Harvard students walk out of their economics class in protest of its inherent bias. I'm Alan Barton. Stand by for Front Page. All right, a little story from the old alma mater here. Students at Harvard walked out of Ec 10. I took Ec 10 20 million years ago. They wrote a letter to the professor expressing their views. Quote, "Today, we are walking out of your class, Economics 10, in order to express our discontent with the bias inherent in this introductory economics course. There is no justification for presenting Adam Smith's economic theories as more fundamental or basic than, for example, Keynesian theory. If Harvard fails to equip its students with a broad and critical understanding of economics, their actions are likely to harm the global financial system. The last 5 years of economic turmoil have been proof enough of this." Too good. It is too good. Joining me in studio to discuss these brilliant people, Yaron Brook, president of the Ayn Rand Center for Individual Rights, and Terry Jones, associate editor for Investors Business Daily. All right, Terry, what do you think of the Harvard students and their problems with the professor here is Mankiw, who is not known as any a major conservative guy.
No.
You know, he's a moderate guy.
He's a moderate Republican economist, and by the way, he self-identifies as a neo-Keynesian. So I mean, it's not like he scants Keynes in this. But I will say, I will agree with him on one thing. He does have a pronounced bias. It's a bias toward recognizing reality and factual existence in the economic realm, and that's that is a bias. And
as usual, I'm going to have to disagree with Terry. If he's a neo-Keynesian, he can't be recognizing reality. So the problem with, I mean, I should have walked, if it was me, I would have walked out on that class because it is biased. It's way too biased towards Keynes. This is like you're teaching physics and you're doing some Newton, and the students say, "Wait a minute. What are you teaching us about Newton? We want to learn the latest witch doctor nonsense that somebody came up with." Keynes is witch doctory. It's mystics. It has nothing to do with reality. It has nothing to do with science. It has nothing to do with economics.
What do you think about the whole idea of just like sort of getting away from the economic theory for a second, of just like students dictating to professors? I mean, Ec 10 is primarily a freshman course. These are freshmen who do this. I mean, I took it as a freshman. They were walking out and dictating to these professors, here's what we want to learn, and here's why your course has inherent bias. I mean,
And if you want to know why students who are paying $50,000 a year to attend Harvard are having trouble, maybe getting jobs when they get out, this may be it.
This goes to my next point, because a recent Pew study indicates that older Americans have become disproportionately wealthy over the last 25 years, while younger people have become poorer. This is the old top quintile. Now it's the top age bracket, younger age bracket. But is it potentially what sort of you're saying? They're not learning the stuff that will make them money and make them valuable to society, or what do you see as underneath that?
Well, I do see that. I mean, the number of college students has increased by something like 25% over the last 25 years, but the number of science students has increased by about half that level. So students are getting more degrees that are less relevant to where the high-paying jobs are. And
there's going to be a new major, economic mythology.
And also,
you can study like sort of centaurs and economics.
One really important thing here is in the last 25 years, the global workforce has basically doubled. So everything that people can do is being done somewhere else, and globalization has put that pressure on people.
So there's another point here which I think is important. Statism, when the state grows, benefits people who are entrenched. People who already have a job, people who are already making money, they're not better off, but they're hurt less than the young. The young need freedom to prosper. They need a flexible economy, a competitive economy to drive up. The bigger government grows, the more entrenched we become in terms of our classes, the more difficult it becomes for a young person to become wealthy and to rise up.
But isn't this part of what OWS is to some degree? I mean, you've got the freaks and the radicals and the Marxists, but you do have a number of young people out there who are sort of like, hey, I bought into a system where I thought, I go to a 4-year college, I go to Columbia, I go to NYU, I go to Harvard, I go to this, and I come out and there's a job waiting for me, and there isn't. And we can go and poke a million holes in that, but there is a sort of a naive logic at work that they feel betrayed by.
But that's why they should be protesting Washington, not Wall Street. They should be protesting the people who have created an economic system in which there's a lot less social mobility than there was under more capitalism. So they are blaming the wrong cause. They think that the government needs to step in, give them jobs, give them benefits, help them along. What they need is more freedom to compete and actually to help create jobs.
Now, the other thing has been in the news that Obama's been trying to help students achieve this good education by helping them with their college loans. Let's see what the president had to say.
Since taking office, we've made it a priority to make college more affordable, reduce your student loan debt. Last year, we fought to eliminate these taxpayer subsidies that were going to big banks. They were serving as middlemen in the student loan program. Some of you may have heard about this. So even though the loans were guaranteed by the federal government, we were still paying banks billions of dollars to be pass-throughs for the student loan program.
It's crazy. There is a private enterprise out there conducting business without us having something to do with it. So we stepped in and bypassed that whole system. Terry, what's going on here? Because it's not only just this, which was actually a couple of years ago. Now you've got this whole movement to forgive student debt. And that this would be a fabulous thing for the economy to forgive $1 trillion worth of student debt.
Yeah, that would be just ridiculous. I mean,
So this is another thing where the government is stepping in and inflating, causing huge inflation in the price of the asset they're trying to
and then the first lesson you get when you graduate from college is that you're not responsible for your own debts. That's a really horrible thing to do.
Yeah, because they limit they're going to limit the amount of income as a percentage of income what you have to pay, and then if you don't end up paying it in 20 years, they'll forgive the rest, right?
Yeah.
So by definition, you can do some simple
and
math.
The reason the government got involved in this is they did it to drive interest rates down on these things. So they basically. I took out student loans because why? Because they were the only ones who would lend to me at single-digit rates when I was a student. So,
Yeah, any thoughts here on that?
I sympathize with Obama. You'll never hear that again from me.
Whoa.
I mean, the government guaranteeing student loans is really, really stupid. They shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
He went the other direction. He said, if we're guaranteeing student loans, we should own them. I'm saying, if you're guaranteeing student loans, just stop the guarantee. Let true private financial markets, and what will happen is that will actually put pressure on tuitions to come down because people won't be able to afford to go to these
But
schools.
why aren't people seeing this pattern where they see it with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? The government backs a certain asset class, like you can borrow and we will back you up, and inflation, loans, low interest rates, people get in over their heads, and then they need a bailout, and no one seems to draw the connection to the government backing of an asset.
And not just backing, but literally cutting the price of things by
making it more affordable. You heard it right there. We need to make it more affordable.
Cutting
why is it your
interest,
job to make it more affordable?
Mandating that interest rates be a certain level, and of course you're going to increase the consumption of that thing, and it's just a gigantic waste of money.
And we become lazy and corrupt in this country, where we look to government to solve our problems. We look to government to subsidize everything, to control everything. Ultimately, government is just a reflection of us. So it's the American people who have become lazy and used to this notion of entitlement, and
so that they can walk out of their Ec 10 class and say, here's what you should be teaching us. When I was there, they were at least protesting in Harvard Yard about divestment from South Africa. At least there was some morsel of moral you could hang on to. Now it's just, we want you to teach us something else. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for your own. And Terry, I'm Alan Barton. You've been watching Front Page.